I am 78 years old, and over something trivial, I lost a friendship of 50 years. My best friend died thinking I hated him. I didn't. This morning I woke up and reached for the phone to call David. Then I remembered. He's been gone for 3 years now. But some mornings my mind forgets. I'll think of something I want to tell him, something small, something that wouldn't matter to anyone else. And for just a second, I forget that he isn't there anymore. 3 years. And I still haven't gotten used to it. I have a photograph on the table beside my chair. It's from 4 summers ago, a few months before he got sick. We're standing outside the old diner on 5th Street, the one that's been there since we were kids. He's smiling, I'm not. I look at that picture a lot now. I look at it and I try to remember what we talked about that day, but I can't. I remember the silence more than the words. I remember how it felt like we were strangers pretending to be friends. And I remember thinking, even then, that it didn't have to be this way. But I didn't say that. I didn't say much of anything. David and I were friends for over 50 years. 50 years. You don't just lose that kind of friendship overnight. Except we did. Or I did, I suppose. I'm the one who stopped showing up. I'm the one who let the distance grow. And now he's gone, and I'm left here with all the things I should have said and didn't. We met when we were 7 years old. First day of school. I was standing by the fence at recess, trying not to cry because I didn't know anyone and my mother had told me to be brave. David walked up to me and handed me half of his sandwich. He didn't say much, just stood there eating his half while I ate mine. When the bell rang, he said, "You can sit with me tomorrow if you want." I did. And the day after that, and for the next 50 years, in one way or another, David was always there. We grew up together. We got into trouble together. When we were 12, we broke Mrs. Patterson's window playing baseball in the street, and David told his father it was his fault, even though I was the one who threw the ball. He took the punishment so I wouldn't have to. When we were 16, my father died. Heart attack, just collapsed in the driveway one morning and never got back up. I didn't know how to talk about it. I didn't know how to feel anything except numb. David didn't try to make me talk. He just showed up. Every day after school, he'd come by and we'd sit on the porch and he'd tell me about nothing, what happened in class, what movie was playing downtown, what his sister said at dinner. He filled the silence so I didn't have to. That's the kind of friend he was. For 40 years, I thought nothing could come between us. Then Margaret got sick, and I learned how wrong I was. We stayed close through everything, college, jobs, marriages. When I married Margaret, David was my best man. When he married Claire, I was his. We raised our kids in the same neighborhood. Our families had dinner together every Sunday for years. Birthdays, holidays, graduations. David was always there. And then Margaret got cancer. It came fast and it took her faster. I was drowning. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. I couldn't think straight. David called. A lot at first. He'd ask how I was doing, if I needed anything. But I didn't know how to answer. I didn't want to talk. I didn't want to see anyone. So I stopped picking up. Then one day, about 3 months after Margaret died, I saw David's car pull up outside my house. I watched from the window as he walked to the door. He knocked. I didn't answer. He stood there for a long time. Then he left. A week later, my neighbor, Mrs. Chen, came by with groceries. She said someone had been paying her to check on me, to make sure I had food. She wouldn't say who. I assumed it was my daughter. She lived 2 states away and felt guilty she couldn't be here more. But then Mrs. Chen mentioned that this person also arranged for my walk to be shoveled last winter. My daughter didn't even know it had snowed. I didn't think much of it I was too tired to think much of anything back then. Then one afternoon, I went to pick up a prescription, and the pharmacist told me it had already been paid for. I asked who paid it. She said a man named David. That's when I got angry. I didn't want his pity. I didn't want him sneaking around behind my back, treating me like I was helpless. If he wanted to help, he should have asked. He should have been upfront about it. I called him. For the first time in months, I called him, and I told him to stop. I told him I didn't need his charity. I told him I could take care of myself. He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to overstep." And that was it. We didn't talk after that. Months went by, then a year, then two. I'd see him around town sometimes, at the grocery store, at the post office. We'd nod at each other, maybe say hello, but that was all. I told myself he'd moved on, that he'd decided I wasn't worth the trouble. And maybe part of me believed I wasn't. Then Claire died, David's wife, the woman he'd been with for 46 years. I heard about it from a mutual friend. Heart failure. She'd been sick for a while, but I didn't know. I hadn't been paying attention. I thought about going to the funeral. I thought about calling him, but I didn't. I told myself we weren't close anymore. I told myself it would be awkward. I told myself he probably wouldn't even want to see me. The truth is, I was scared. Scared of facing grief again. Scared of not knowing what to say. Scared that if I showed up, I'd have to admit how much time I'd wasted being angry over nothing. So I stayed home, and I hated myself for it, but not enough to do anything about it. I told myself I'd moved on, that I didn't need to think about him anymore. Then I saw his daughter at the pharmacy, and I knew something was wrong. 2 years later, David got sick. Lung cancer. It moved fast. I didn't know until it was almost over. His daughter looked exhausted. She told me he was in hospice. She told me he didn't have much time. I asked if I could see him. She looked at me for a long moment. Then she said, "He'd like that," but I didn't go. I kept meaning to. I'd think about it every day. I'd even get in the car sometimes, but I'd sit there in the driveway and I wouldn't be able to move. What would I even say? How do you apologize for years of silence? How do you explain why you weren't there when it mattered? I waited too long. David died on a Tuesday in October. I wasn't there. I went to the funeral because I had to, but I wasn't prepared for what his daughter would say. I sat in the back. I didn't talk to anyone. His daughter gave the eulogy. She talked about what a good father he was, what a good husband, what a good friend. Then she said something that broke me. She said that after Claire died, her father struggled, that he felt lost and didn't know how to move forward, that he leaned on the memory of an old friend who had gone through the same thing. She said he used to talk about me, about how I'd survived losing Margaret, about how if I could keep going, so could he. She said he checked on me because he wanted to make sure I was okay, because he knew what it felt like to lose everything. And when I pushed him away, he didn't take it personally. He understood. She said he never stopped caring. He just gave me the space he thought I needed. Then she mentioned something else. She said that after I yelled at him that day on the phone, he told her he wished he'd handled it differently, that he wished he'd been there in person instead of hiding behind gestures. He thought I was angry because he hadn't shown up enough. He thought he'd failed me. I sat in that church and I couldn't breathe. All those years, I thought he'd abandoned me. I thought he'd given up on our friendship, but he never did. He was there, quietly, in ways I didn't see because I wasn't looking. And when he needed me, when Claire died and his world fell apart, I wasn't there at all. I didn't even try. After the service, I went home and I found an old photo album. There's a picture in there from when we were kids. We're maybe 10 years old. standing by the lake with our arms around each other's shoulders. I remember that day. We'd saved up our allowance for weeks to rent a rowboat. We rowed out to the middle of the lake and just floated there for hours, talking about what we wanted to be when we grew up. David said he wanted to be someone people could count on. He became that, and I let him slip away because I was too proud, too scared, too angry at the wrong things. I think about him every day now. I think about the years we lost. I think about the conversation we never had. I think about standing at his funeral, realizing too late that he'd never stopped being my friend. I think about all the times I could have called, all the times I could have shown up, and I didn't. If there's anything I've learned from losing David, it's this. Silence is a choice. Distance is a choice. And sometimes the people we push away are the ones trying hardest to stay. I was angry at David for helping me quietly, but I never asked myself why he did it that way. I never stopped to think that maybe he was just doing the best he could with what he knew. And when he needed me, I didn't do anything at all. I can't fix that now. I can't go back and be the friend he deserved. But if there's someone in your life you've been meaning to reach out to, someone you've let drift away because of pride or fear or a misunderstanding you never cleared up, don't wait. Don't tell yourself you'll do it tomorrow. Don't tell yourself it's too late or too awkward or that they won't want to hear from you. Just reach out, because one day you won't be able to, and you'll be left sitting in a chair looking at an old photograph, wishing you'd been braver. I still have that picture of David and me outside the diner. I look at it every morning. Some days it hurts. Some days it just makes me tired. But I keep it there because it reminds me of what I had and what I lost and what I should have done differently. David was my best friend for 50 years. And I spent the last few of them too stubborn to see that he still was. If you've been meaning to call someone, do it today. Don't wait like I did. If this story meant something to you, I hope you'll share it with someone who might need to hear it. Sometimes just saying it out loud helps. So go ahead and subscribe.